Because detectives want you to take a good look at these two people. This is 35-year-old Melinda Smith and 43-year-old Jason Whitney. But detectives tell us they're well known in the adult film world as Mercedes Carrera and Damon Sins. They're an actress and a director, detectives say, in pornographic movies. Police want their pictures out there in the public because they believe they could have been sexually abusing other children as well. Detectives say that about a week ago, that little girl's family contacted them saying the couple had sexually abused her. When they went into the apartment here, they say the bedroom was set up like a pornographic film set.
Well, in previous videos, we have discussed previous trials. No, we're not talking about JD or AH. There are other trials, major, that are going on. Two of them are in the adult industry. And they are major trials because basically they are of sexual assault, child assault, variations, depending on the charges. And they're massive charges that are going on. And they're massive delays. You know, we've talked before about Ron Jeremy. The end of the month, we should see the psych evaluation brought up in the courts. I believe the evaluation should be done by now. I know there have been delays. The psych eval was delayed for several reasons, which has not been put forward yet in the media. We'll probably hear that at the court hearing for this. The other trial, and this one, the people involved in this have been held in prison for several years now. They haven't seen the light of day, and not a courtroom is finally being scheduled for court. And that is the porn actress Mercedes Carrera, and her trial is finally being scheduled for October. I'm going to read a little bit off XBiz on there. After numerous long delays, the criminal trial of Mercedes Carrera and her husband on multiple child sex abuse charges has been finally scheduled for October 3rd. Carrera and her husband, Jason Whitney, were arrested after people raided their Rancho Cucamonga home on February 1st in 2019. They have now been in county jail without trial for 3 years, first without bail, later after they liquidated their assets and had no source of income due to their incarceration, with their bail set at $2 million each. According to the court documents, the pretrial hearing was held today to determine the jury selection process and the date for the beginning of the actual trial. The documents also show that the trial readiness conference is scheduled for September 3rd, prior to the jury trial set by Judge Katarina West and the parties for October 3rd. And the thing is that this has been held off for a lot of reasons, pretrial motions, COVID, because I know there was at one point Mercedes caught COVID in the jail during the height of the COVID epidemic. Now, unfortunately, I would love to cover this live, but this is in California, and unfortunately, they will not be broadcasting this, but we will follow what's going on at the trial as best as we can, from the sources we can. We hope that we can get sources out on the West Coast to assist us with this, because basically, you know, we're not going to see the camera. This is not going to be like the Rittenhouse trial or the JD trial, where cameras were available. Cameras should be in the front, and we should be able to see the evidence that's being put in front of the jury. Not saying whether she's guilty or innocent. You have to remember, in this country, innocent until proven guilty. But unfortunately, the way some people have been pushing it lately, it's been the reverse. And you have to understand that basically people have their day in court. We don't know what happened in this household. We were not there. All we're being told is what has been happening. If it's true, if this is true, may she burn in court, in jail, for her and her husband burn in jail for what they have done to children and to their own child themselves. Because supposedly her child is also involved in the situation as well. This is things that basically, that, you know, has to be put out there, because there are sick people in the world. And don't put to the perception to blame the entire porn industry for this. There are sick people out there. And if they, but then there are those who are trying to get rid of the porn industry by creating accusations as well, too. We've seen this around the world. It has happened. Lies and lies and lies. But like I said, there are sick people in every industry in the world, including the porn industry as well. What are we going to expect out of this? I honestly couldn't say. I'm not a lawyer. Depending on from what I've seen so far, the evidence itself, it's damning evidence. But we haven't seen all of it, and we need to hear from both sides and see how this goes. It's the same thing with the Ron Jeremy trial, too. A lot of questions, because they say, well, it's the Me Too movement that's pushing it on this. No. I think there are truly victims out there, and I do believe this. There are victims, and they are finally getting their due day in court, and that's good. But then there are those who are taking advantage of this situation, and part of it has been caused by the Me Too movement. You're putting people in jail that shouldn't be in jail because you don't like the person. You want to get revenge on the person. You may have broken up with them or had a business deal or something like that. And then this is things that you've heard in many different stories and many police shows, Law and Order specifically. You've heard the lies in some of these stories. And some of them are based on fact. Remember, a lot of the Law and Order stories were based on factual events. You see that always at the beginning. If it's a story that actually happened, they base it on that. The thing is, we have to be very careful. Very careful. We've gone through this in history. Remember the witch hunts, the Salem witch hunts and stuff like that. This is being done again. Out of politics, out of business, out of revenge. People will take advantage of situations any way they can to either get a buck or to get revenge on somebody. And we've seen this through history. We can go all the way back to the Tawana Brawley case, the Duke Lacrosse case. We can go on and on and on for many years that situations like this have happened. And it turned out to be false. And that pushes back the true women and men and children that need the help the most. Those who can't come forward because of all this bullshit that's going on. They can't come forward because they're afraid what they're going to go through. They need your help to get through this. If you're a friend, you know somebody on there, get them help. Get them the help they need. Talk. There are therapists that will help bring them forward. The JD trial proved it alone how vindictive people can get. And then the little cases that are not high profile, they don't get the time of day. Guy ends up on the street, released, and vanishes. It's a shame. But like I said, we will maintain a watch on this, see what happens in October, and of course the pre-trial in September. Like I said, we won't have live coverage of it, but we'll do the best we can. So comment below, subscribe, like, share. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye.